Hello, this is a Math 2231 video for the summer of 2025 associated with Bradley Section 02. An apt analogy for what we do is we're on a journey that's similar to an airline voyage. We share common departures and destinations and schedules. I am at the cockpit controls, and your welfare, including your learning, is my prime concern. I've flown this route many times, and together we will manage any in-flight turbulence and arrive safely. A general flight plan follows later in this presentation, and we also, this summer, will have a remarkable co-pilot. More about him later as well. So who am I? Well, I consider there are three chapters in my life. The first chapter was at Purdue, where I studied mathematics, got degrees, and taught mathematics. When there was no more mathematics to learn at Purdue, I went into industry and worked for pretty much a full career of 20 years. Most of the companies I worked for had logos that looked sort of like this, and I also was involved primarily in exploratory product development. After I left that career, I went into my third career, the third chapter, and I've been teaching mathematics at the College of DuPage for more than a dozen years. I'm a full professor of mathematics at the college, and I've taught every math course we teach at the College of DuPage. What matters to me is certain things. I do practice paradox, which means that I am a stickler about some things, and other things I'm much more casual about. We'll talk a little bit about that. And I have a growth mindset. So the biggest thing that matters to me is I'm interested in providing you a rigorous course. I don't want anybody to take my course and have to apologize for taking a course at a community college. I will teach the best course I know how to teach, and that will be an excellent introductory engineering calculus course. A second thing is, within a wholesome discipline, I do, however, allow multiple avenues for student success. And so in that way, I'm less lax. But, and this is a rigorous thing again, your success must be earned. What we do in the classroom is just short of being sacred. That's probably more than enough about me. Our course is called Math 2231, and I'm called Professor Bradley. This is the first calculus course for students majoring in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. These are the topics that we study, and it's quite a bit, and the 4-hour course is full of content. We have a bunch of course objectives that are listed here for completeness. I am very concerned about covering all these things, and we will cover all these things in turn. Please notice, my dear students, that there are action verbs on all of these, so I will expect you to be able to do things, and none of these action verbs say kind of, sort of, understand, and so you will demonstrate your mastery of these concepts by following and being able to execute these action verbs. The objectives continue. More action verbs. And finally, we're finished with the action verbs and the objectives. We also have a topical outline. We'll spend a very short amount of time reviewing, and then we will discuss limits, because calculus is the study of limits. Then we'll move on to discussing the derivative, which is a very special kind of limit. And we'll do a lot of work with techniques of doing derivatives and applications of derivatives. Then we'll move on to another special type of limit called integrals, and we'll cover a bunch of the theory and applications of those integrals as well. And time permitting, we may cover additional topics. I often find the time to do that. College of DuPage Math Department wants to ensure that students are receiving a consistent education when taking classes in the STEM track. In order to achieve this goal, the Math Department has created some guidelines for teaching our course, Calc 2 and Calc 3. And so these are the guidelines that a student is to follow. So individual proctored assessments without collaboration, retakes, extra credit, or the use of calculators must account for at least 80% of the student's overall grade. We will do that. A comprehensive final exam worth at least 20 points of the student's overall course grade must be given at the end of the semester. We also will do that. The use of written material, note cards, textbooks, formulas, and so on will not be permitted on tests or assessments. And if extra credit is offered, it should not increase the overall grade by more than 1%. And I don't think we'll have anything falling into that category. Students typically are interested in how the grades happen, and so a C or better is required for this course to serve as a prerequisite for the following calculus courses and for many COD STEM courses. Your net grade for this course will be determined as a weighted average of 3 components. One is your net mastery from MyMathLab, abbreviated here as MML. Now this is going to actually be the product of 2 components. MyMathLab records a mastery, and I have given you a number of assignments that are to be completed. So your figure of merit, or your net percentage, is going to be the product of the number or proportion that you have completed of the assignments and your level of mastery on those completed. That will comprise together 20%, but it is a product. It's a calculation based on those 2 factors. The next thing will be the percentage score earned on the cumulative midterm exam, and that'll be 40% of your grade. So you see it is heavy on assessments. I call these high stakes assessments. And the final component, the remaining 40%, will be earned on the comprehensive and mandatory final exam. The grading scale is there. You need a 70% or better to earn a C, and B's and A's can happen as well. Now, it's important for students to understand this grading scale does not have provisions for extra credit, do-overs, retakes, or post-grade administration negotiations. Please rest assured the grades will be rendered fairly and earned, but students should act and plan accordingly from the outset of the term in order to get the grade that they really want to get. Let's see, I will have office hours, and there's other support allowed. My standing office hours are 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturdays and noon to 4 p.m. on Sundays when in session. Now these are going to be held in the Learning Commons, which is SRC 2102, and I typically hang out at workstation 6 there. If the doors are not open, knock on the large windows west of the doors, and I'll hear you and I will allow you access, and we can work together. In addition to my hours there, the Learning Commons provides expert student assistance of remarkable scope and scale. The Learning Commons is an outstanding venue for individual learning and group study. And finally, and this is last but not least, I have made arrangements to sponsor a guided study group for our class. Although details are still emerging, I expect that we will be blessed to work with a COD legend in this regard, the one and only Jesse Hayes Carver. I have been blessed to have Jesse in a couple of my classes, and I've worked with him many times in this capacity, and that's sort of what he looks like. More about Jesse later, and about the guided study groups later. There's required material. It's listed here. This is what is in my access, and you are going to be required to submit MyMathLab homework, so you definitely want to get the access card, and you will have an ebook with that. And I said I would share a flight pen with you. Here I have. I don't know if we'll exactly do this flat plan. We'll do what's necessary, but I've done this many times and feel comfortable that we'll do this. We will have unquizzes pretty much at the beginning of every period, and those are actually useful elements in the learning. You can see the weeks that the midterm and the final exam will happen. Now, the COD administration has decreed that we will observe 2 holidays in which there will be no classes per se. These are the holiday known as Juneteenth, that is June 19th, and July 3rd is the 4th of July observation. Although we will not meet as a class on those days, students are allowed to do math on those days. And please understand, I plan to do so. And availabilities and topical content for the assessments will be announced as we get closer to the dates. And so we begin. I think with these notes, the path is straight. It won't be necessarily an easy course. It might be uphill, but there's some good things over the horizon. And so let's get it done. Look forward to starting studying with you. Bye.